Hey, what is going on, guys? Today I have Zach on again, and we're going to do a follow up to his deck profile. He's going to do some test hands, explain his combos, all that kind of stuff. So if you guys do enjoy, be sure to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And from there, I will throw it over to Zach, and he will take us through the combos.
All right, so this deck's really hard. It's got 3 engines, and I already see one of them right there, Deer Servant. And knowing when to play each is incredibly difficult. Okay, so right now, immediately my thought process is, how do I play around Droll? The best way to do that is not normal summon Ponix. Your knee-jerk reaction would be normal summon Ponix, but that does not play around that. So we're gonna activate Sanctuary first and get our island, because that plays around Droll. It plays into Ash, but I don't care. Droll is scarier. We get Island, and another reason why I don't care Ash, because we have Nadir Servant. We also have like ways to pop cards, which is good enough. So let's say we activate Island and it gets Ash. We can just go Nadir Servant, do that stuff. But if we're uninterrupted, we pop the Ponix, adding ourselves a Garunix. And here we have 2 options. So we summon the Garunix, of course. We have 2 options. We can either pop, so if we get Drolled, we're not gonna pop the Kit. But we have the option to do that because we already have Kirin in hand. Kirin is, of course, an incredible interruption. And being able to have access to that is the reason why we would pop Barong. And if we get Drolled here, we pop Barong regardless, because that gives us at least some advantage through Droll. But if we don't get hit by Droll, we pop Kit. Kit effect, pop a Nerval. And then Nerval effect. So we haven't normal summoned yet, and because I want to retain as much as I can, so I'm going to be adding Kit. Here we can normal summon Kit. Kit effect, we're going to banish 2 for cost. And your knee-jerk reaction might be go for Bearbrum, but we have access to Nadir, so we don't want to do that, because Bearbrum's engrave effect to search for Revolt locks you into special summoning tries. So we're just going to go for a Ferrijit to see if we can get a mulligan to a certain extent, maybe find a Droll over a Imperm, depending on what we're playing against. Here we can just go straight into an Apo, because Apo is a solid card that people aren't respecting and they aren't expecting it. So just go for Apo and then go Ferrijit, draw 1, it's a hit, put that on bottom because we don't care.
But you could draw into something even better, essentially.
Yeah. We could like draw into a Garunix, or just, I don't know, there's not really Ash if we want that over an Imperm.
Something like that. Yeah. So now you got
here,
3 negate Apo,
yeah. Here we got a 3 negate Apo, and then we can go Nadir, dumping a Garura, and adding Maximus. This is where we have to think, like, what do we want in our end board? Do we want Kirin? Do we want Max, or do we want Kirin? Do we want Revolt? Do we want Schism? Because we can shape our hand very well with this deck, but it all depends. So we can draw off of that. Okay, we got a now. That's incredibly solid, because we're going to be dumping. These are our options for dumping off of Maximus, or our main options. So we've got Entis, which is only really good on our opponents, or after our opponent has gone. We got Omen, which is only really good if we don't have access to a Ponix. But if we're playing against Lab, it's also good to just go into that. But I don't think we need to, so we're probably going to be dumping these 2. So Maximus, because we want access to the Shaddolls, we're banishing the Ferrijit instead, so that we can retain Garura, which is a dark. So summon out the Maximus, and then we can go Maximus effect. We're going to dump 2, Apkallone and the Bearbrum. I always go Bearbrum 1, Apkallone 2, because I think that Revolt is far and above better than having the Schism. So get Schism here, and we have to pitch a card. I'd probably pitch Imperm here because retaining Kieran's in deck is so incredibly valuable. And then add Revolt, put a Kieran on bottom. So here we have an incredibly solid end board. We have a way to get, or I'll just play out what'll happen on our opponent's turn. So in the standby phase, we will get back Ponyx. So we already have access to Sanctuary into Eternity. So we have triple negates, or 3 monster negates, and then after that's done, we can Revolt, or we have options to Revolt, but also options to board wipe. I like to Revolt first so that we can get a search based off what we have banished, which Revolt, you always make sure you have 1 Beast Warrior, Wing Beast banished so that you can search off Omen. So summon out 4, and then immediately link. Into Omen, which is a non-targeting banish on field.
Which is crazy.
And I always go Nerval 1, 2. It protects against Ash and is just overall better. I remember back in the days, people would go Omen 1, Nerval 2, Kit 3, but you don't need the dump. You can just 1, 2. What are they gonna do? Like Imperm it? If they had Imperm, they were already gonna hit the Apo. So Omen, banish a card, and then we can grab, I usually grab Fractal because that can flex into whatever we want on our turn.
It is also a fire, so probably better than
it is also a fire.
Karis. I know you mentioned in the deck profile that Karis is like the worst try name, and like I was skeptical about that too, but now that I'm seeing it, it's like, yeah, it kind of makes sense. I mean, like, what is Karis really doing for you here?
Yeah. Now we have options to Schism and board wipe. If we feel like we do not need the board wipe, it's good to retain it. Although it is still good to go Kieran, popping Ponyx. Oh, another thing is off of the Nerval search from Revolt, you can search out a Kit, which you can then pop with Kieran, or you can search out a Fractal to pop with Kieran. But here we're just gonna pop Ponyx, special summon the Kieran. I always summon it in defense so that people punch into it, and then we get the if the effect of Garura gets negated. And then Garura, you're probably going to be popping either Arvata to bring back a Barong, or another Kieran to bring back. It feels bad to bring back Ponyx in this scenario, so I honestly, depending on if I feel like I need the interruption, would pop Barong, just because retaining resources is so valuable, especially in the grind game. And of course, we have this in defense that baits them into punching over it. It's dinky, it has 200 defense. And we also have, of course, the board wipe. So let's say we need the board wipe. Here into Eternity mandatory effect, blow up the board. So here we have Omen effect to search out a level 1. We can search out Onyx or search out Crow, which is another layer of interruption. And then we also have Schism, and we can banish Omen or the Garura. I like to banish the Garura just because it's fun. I don't know, that's the only reason. Into Winda, and it's really nice to chain this to something. If, let's say you're playing against Sprite and they go starter, chain, Schism, summon Winda, what are they going to do? Or they're doing runic shenanigans and they go activate this effect, special, and then you Schism into Winda. what are they going to do?
Yeah. And like importantly, I feel like if your opponent has played through triple Apo Negate, the Omen Banish, the Garunix summon, and then the board wipe, and then they get schismed, I feel like any deck that can play through that is just Protagonist Powers .jpg.
And Crow.
Yeah, you also have the Crow. You searched out the Crow. So it's, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 interruptions. Or no, 7 interruptions and then into the window for a Floodgate. I feel like that's hard for any deck to play through.
Yeah, but I also just don't know if I want them anymore. It feels good when you get to do the, but you rarely do. So I think that moving forward, I'm going to cut this to
also,
retain extra deck space.
Yeah,
as
also
well as
going into this next format, like we already talked about it off camera, where it's like both Fire King and Labyrinth can kind of deal with Winda on their own. Like if it's just Winda, to be fair, where you just like, oh, I'll just activate a trap, special the lady. But especially going into next format with like the Yubel stuff, which people are speculating Yubel Chimera will be strong. When you can search out a Super Poly and just Super Poly away your opponent's Winda, it kind of negates the Winda. So there's definitely, I can definitely see there's a lot
and
of
in the grind, I much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's very difficult to play because you have to know when to use what, and that's the main issue with it. Like we can do another test hand where I get drolled, and I can just show how I deal with it.
All right, so here we go. We got a second test hand. We're gonna try and play through a Droll and Loachbird right now. Okay,
so this is not the best hand. We have a Nerval, which plays into Droll. If this was Kit, it'd be significantly better, but it's not. Here, there are two options. If this was a Kit, I would probably normal this and then link into an Alma Barrage.
Yeah.
But because it's not, I am probably going to
go Sanctuary. Should we Sanctuary first?
Yeah, Sanctuary. So the main issue with Sanctuary is, so if I Sanctuary, what do I go into?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it might be Sanctuary. Yeah, Sanctuary here. This is a difficult hand.
Yeah.
Into Island. And then Island pop the Nerval. Grabbing.
I thought it just had to pop fires.
Nope, it can pop anything. It just destroy one monster from your on your field or in hand and add one king.
Crazy.
So the question is, what do we add? Because you always want to play around Droll, and we won't know if they have Droll until they hit us with it. I think the correct play is to search out a Ponix.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because if they don't Droll us, we can normal Ponix and then get Sanctuary, and then we have, regardless, we have Skyburn set, and because we didn't pop a fire, we can't Garunix summon.
Mm-hmm.
So we go Nerval here, they Droll, normal summon, set, and then on our opponent's turn, we still have multiple layers of interruption as well as follow-up because Ponix will come back, and we just win in the grind game that way. Because the chances that they have two Drolls are low, and we can just tanky for either a Barong or a Fractal. I feel in this scenario it would probably be Barong because we can pop Barong with Island, search out the Garunix, and then special the Garunix.
Seems decent.
Yeah.
Yeah, this deck does have an inherent weakness to Droll, and I think Shifter as well. So it's like you just like with the Tri-Brigade stuff, with like all the other engines that you're running, it lets you play through those things a little bit easier, comparatively.
Yeah, this hand can play through Droll easy.
Yeah, let's go ahead and show that off.
Yeah, you always start with Sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
you always start with Sanctuary because it baits out Ash. If you have triple tack post side, it's always good to do that. And because we have Nadir, it's always solid to do that. So Island, popping Kit, grabbing the Garunix. Kit 1, Garunix 2, and then they change roll. Sucks to suck. But this is a nifty thing you can do is Kit 1, Garunix 2, Garunix summon, and then Kit pop, or not pop, send Nerval. Nerval 1, Garunix 2. So we completely play around Ash post Island. So if they forget to Ash the Island, then it plays around Ash.
Gotcha.
Of course, we don't get to Nerval because we are roll. I still think that sending the Nerval is good in this scenario, simply because getting it in rotation is nice. Here we pop Barong because that gets us follow up. And I personally would set the Nadir just because, or it depends. Post like games 2 and 3, I'm setting the Nadir if I'm going second, or just in general, because a lot of people are playing anti-spell right now.
Yeah.
And Nadir, setting the Nadir plays around that. Alternatively, what are they going to do? Are they going to try and pop a set card in Fire King? That's so dangerous. And if they do that and I have Nadir set, then okay, your stupidity won for, but the chances of that happening more than once are so low, and that person's going to get punished eventually.
Yeah.
So we still have ample follow-up. We've got Droll for our opponent's turn. During our opponent's standby, we can Barong for a Kirin. So we've got Droll, which is a high-impact hand trap. It's always good to see those. Kirin popping Ponix to special. And then you can overlay. Oh, you could also pop the Garunix and then summon out the Ponix, but that just feels bad because you want to get this on field. So popping the Ponix for Kirin, and then we can Sanctuary into a board wipe. So they're under Droll and their board got wiped, and we have ample follow-up in this and a Ponix that's coming back.
Right. Yeah. No, this deck seems like it can play through varying interaction. Obviously, it's hand dependent, as we always know. But yeah, I like how this deck has different axes that it can pivot off of. Either you can play kind of a slower control style game with the Eternity to just board wipe and then hand traps, or you can just kind of go balls to the wall and do Tri-Brigade combos.
And even through Droll, like Tri-Brigade combos are still nice. Like if we start with just a kit, or not just a kit, if we start with just a Fractal, like that's still insane. Fractal send kit sends Nerval. Nerval add back a kit. Normal kit banish 2 into Farigite, and then you can link into SP. Like that's still pretty decent. And any extender, like if you have another Beast Warrior in hand, plus
you can search Kairos.
Like if you have 2 more Beast Warriors in hand, you can special summon the Kairos instead. Special summon Kairos by sending 1, and then use Farigite's effect to special summon a Beast Warrior from hand, and then go for Apo.
Yeah. No, this deck is very modal. It can change up what it needs to do depending on what happens to it, and that's really what the best decks in the game are, right? Like Tearlaments wasn't tier 0 because the end boards were like super strong on their own. It also could just play through almost anything, and that's what I think makes a good deck is that it can play through stuff. and it can just change up what it needs to do depending on what you need it to do. It's not just one note. So it's a very cool deck, So if you guys did enjoy, consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. If you like the deck, be sure to check out the deck profile that was uploaded earlier this week. But that is all from us, and we will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.